Right. So if there's any just okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry, it's now midday where we are, but our guest is in. I think I should make my face seen, and I hope that I have enough lights to show my face. Hey, good greetings, everyone. Welcome to you all, our special people. This is the second in the ACSPN Ask Me series. And it's our pleasure to welcome you this 16th of July, Tuesday afternoon here. Our guest is based in the US, so it's early morning for him. So we want to thank him for waking up early. It's about 6:30 where he is now. Oh, sorry, it's about 6 a.m. where he is now.
It's actually 7 now.
It's 7 now. Okay, so
Yeah.
he woke up at 6:30 to join this link, and yeah, so we're really pleased to have him with us. And our topic today is what you see on screen. We're looking at from old to the new, and we're looking at governance for digital communication. How prepared are we? That's what we have before us as a topic today. But in the meantime, I want to welcome our host institution, that I believe that's Skyline University, Nigeria. They've been online and ready and waiting. Can we get can I ask you to please unmute from Skyline University, Nigeria, and say a big hello so we know you're there. Good people at Skyline, can we have you with us? Can we have you please unmute and say hello to us so we know you're there.
Hello.
Hello, Skyline University. Welcome to this series. And briefly, can you just tell us a little bit about your institution so that it's a chance for you to plug yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, my name is Rotimi Oyekunle. I'm a private person. I'm into manufacturing. I manufacture coconut oil, cold pressed.
Okay. Okay, so
that was in Skyline. That's our guest.
That's our guest, Rotimi Oyekunle. We're asking for, you're most welcome. You didn't say where you've come from, Mr. Oyekunle.
I'm from Lagos.
Okay, so you're based in Lagos. Excellent. Welcome. Thank you. I think I see Amina Dantata, who I see your mic moving. Could you please introduce yourself as well? You're online. Whilst we wait for the guest at Skyline University. Can you kindly unmute yourself and let's, or we can go to Miriam Bauer. Oh, Skyline is ready. Skyline is ready. Skyline University, you've unmuted yourself. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and say a hello so we know you're there? Who's speaking for Skyline University? Hello. Okay, that's interesting. They've been online and I've heard their voices earlier on. But
they're actually looking at us. I think they're probably having technical difficulties.
Yes. And I guess it's good that we can do this because when we come to, that's somebody's speaking.
Can they hear us? That's probably the important thing. Can they hear us?
I think you can hear us, but we can't hear you, sir. We can't hear you. Okay. Maybe whilst we walk out, Skyline University, you go ahead and test your microphones, test your connections. We can see you, we know you're on, and we just want to be able to ensure that we can interact with you. So whilst you're doing that, we can also maybe welcome those who are online. I had Amina Dantata. Do you want to say hello, madam? I'm not sure whether it's Dr. or just Malama or Amina Sahalu Dantata. Then we've got Miriam Bauer online. We're expecting whoever is able to get to their microphone to unmute and just say hello. It's all good. We're testing our microphones by this, so we know who is able to join in the discussion later on. It's really not a waste of time. Hello, welcome. That's Mariam Bauer.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What institution are you representing?
Skyline University, but I'm not in school right now, so I'm joining from home.
So you're joining from home. Excellent. Yeah. So at least we have one member of Skyline. Can you tell us a little bit about your school, where you're based, and what's the unique selling point about your school?
Well, okay. Skyline University is an amazing school. It's a private, one of the international private schools based in Kano. So it's unique, and everything about it is quite different, and amazing. Nothing much to say about it.
Amazing. I mean, you're in the ancient city of Kano. That's something. That's got to go for something. And it's a private institution. So you're well looked after and well pampered.
Exactly.
And by all indications, it looks like you're enjoying yourself and having fun. And I hope that your lecturers can hear you plug in. And I hope that I can see them nodding and smiling, and you're a good ambassador. So maybe public relations is your forte. Well done. Thank you, Mariam.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Well done. Can we have the sound check from Skyline now?
Hello, can you hear us?
Oh, yes, now we can hear you.
Oh,
excellent.
That's nice, fantastic.
All you needed was just Miriam to come and do the good plug.
No. It was actually a technical problem, but we have rectified that now. So.
Well, the rectification of the technical problem is evidence that you do look after your students, as Miriam has said. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's good. We have a good... Kamsi Obichuku is also online. Can you unmute and tell us where you're from? We're expecting our students. We're expecting another group from Enugu. So I don't know if Kamsi is from Enugu. Kamsi, I think she's dropped off now. Or he has dropped off now. Okay. I think he's dropped off. Well, never mind the fact that there's so few of us on Zoom. We have this streaming on, we have the program streaming on Facebook, and we would also have it ultimately on, I think we'll also have it on YouTube. Can you confirm, Ms. Dr. Ademosu, if you're still here?
Anyway, yes, I am. YouTube. Be uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah, we support being uploaded to YouTube and Facebook as well. So never mind that that we have so few people on Zoom, and we're still expecting IMT Enugu to join us.
Yes, they said they're having challenges with network, but hopefully they will get it fixed shortly.
Okay, cool. So let's hope that that will be done quickly whilst we're introducing our guest speaker. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Let's not, it's now 12 past noon, it's 12:12, so let's go on and introduce our guest speaker. His name is Chris Tunde Odediro, and he's the one who is speaking to us today. He's a journalist, a technical writer. He has the ITSM, ITAM specialism. So yes, his background is in mass communication, but he also has technical expertise. And he's the ITIL, he's an ITIL expert. I guess because we want this to be interactive, please note whatever acronyms don't make sense to you, and be ready to share be ready to ask questions about that. So what does ITIL mean? Obviously, we know that it's something to do with what's it called? Information technology. Okay, so his wealth of experience spans communication and information technology. He has worked as a newspaper editor with newsroom experience at 3 Nigerian national newspapers. That means he has experience of the Nigerian context. And even though he's based in the US, he's very much in touch with what goes on at home in Nigeria. And so that's the kind of person that we're happy to lead us in the kind of discussion, so that they're not just giving us ideas that are alien, but ideas that can be very relevant. So we want you to be mindful of that and make notes. We want us to make notes during this presentation. So we want it to be an interactive engagement. So as we said, Mr. Odediro is a technical writer with experience in IT, user training, documentation, corporate IT, and internal business communications. As ITIL expert with background in designing and implementing strategies about IT service management. He also has IT asset management, ITAM experience, and he's the employee over onboarding and offboarding and service governance. So that's what his retinue involves, looking after the onboarding and offboarding of employees and ensuring that there's some kind of governance in the service that's being provided. So he has hands-on and management capabilities in creating and managing web technologies for large and small organizations. Mr. Odediro has a track record of building successful teams, implementing IT roadmaps, and raising the confidence of the business in IT. He manages global teams, creates governance structures to manage IT, and build audit-proof IT systems. Some of these things will make a bit more sense when you have heard his lecture today. Additionally, he designs and implements IT service management processes and technologies, as well as learning and development programs for those who will be using the services. He has vast experience in managing vendor relationships, particularly with the Big Five. And the Big Five, by Big Five, we mean Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, Adobe, and SAP, which I'm sure their names, these are names that anyone who's familiar with IT would have heard, the kinds of certification that people want. So he has vast experience in managing these guys, managing relationships with these guys. And he has a proven program and project management skills, very lean and agile experience. So he's the kind of guy that you want. In terms of hands-on experience in service delivery, he's been involved in customer support, desk support, endpoint engineering and application packaging, as well as implementing, integrating, and administering service management tools as produced by those Big Five guys that we mentioned, Microsoft, Oracle, then there's other ones like Autodesk, Bentley Systems, ServiceNow, Snow, Flexera, and Citrix. We can go on, but that's not what we want today. I hope that's just a tip of the iceberg. His resume is very long. We've only given you a tip of the iceberg so that you get a sense of who it is that's speaking with you, and you can have some confidence in the message that he's sharing with you today. That's our guest speaker, Mr. Christopher Tunde Odedinro. And I will welcome him on our behalf with a round of applause. Okay, thank you Tunde for coming along. Before I hand over to you, let me just see if our IMT guys are on. Egbo Chukunonso Jacob. Are you from, you're welcome, sir. Egbo Chukunonso Jacob. You're welcome, sir. Are you from IMT? Can you unmute, please, and say hello? Oh, yeah, you're a man. I'm sorry. Can you unmute yourself?
She's unmuted, but we can't hear her.
We can't hear you, but we can see you. So, Hope Rising.
Yeah,
Nod your head twice if you're from IMT Enugu. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you please nod twice if you can hear me, because we can't hear you yet. Okay. We'll get there. Okay. Kamsi, are you? Ah, there we go.
Yes.
Okay, we can hear you now. So if you put the video back
I can
on.
hear you now.
Thank you,
Yeah,
and we can hear you too. So welcome, Chukudonso. Can you kindly introduce yourself, please?
This is the Institute of Management and Technology. And I have with me here the HND1 class and the HND2 class.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And what's your name, please?
My name is Wangunenya.
Okay, because I could see you are not Chukunomzo. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about your school? We've got good network now.
Okay, so this is Institute of Management, IMT, Institute of Management and Technology, Enugu, and we are one of the foremost polytechnics in the Southeast. And we are very privileged to be a part of this second edition of the Ask Me series.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's grand. And I hope that you did hear the introduction, but never mind whatever you missed, it's already recorded. And without much ado, we're going to carry on now. I'm handing over to our guest speaker. He will speak with us, and as I said, please make notes. We would need you to ask questions because that's what this program is about. It's Ask Me series. And yeah, we would expect participation sometime during or maybe at the end of his lecture. Over to you, sir, Mr. Odedinro. Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you, Professor Eso. And thank you, everyone. I really feel highly privileged to be here with you today to share some ideas. As Professor Eson said, we like this to be participatory as much as possible. I would encourage you to use the reactions menu in your Zoom once in a while. If you like something that you had, or you want to use your all kinds of ways to signal how things are going, that would be really very great. And once in a while, I'm going to pause to ask you to participate. At that point, please unmute yourself and let's do this all together. I think at the end of the day, we are all going to learn something. I'm here not just to share ideas, I'm also here to learn. So welcome to today's presentation. What we'll be doing today is to explore the journey from old ways of doing things to a new world in which technology is taking over everything, from mass communication to agriculture, education, medical science, banking, aviation, building construction, or even trading. Just name it. From the old to new, how prepared are we for the digital age? We want to see the transformative power of digital technologies, how they are reshaping our world, and what we need to do in Nigeria in particular to ensure that we set ourselves up for success, to ensure that we deliver opportunities not only to this generation, but also to coming generations, to ensure that technology can leave a lasting and positive impact on our society. That's what we are going to be exploring today. All right, so let's start looking at the topic by understanding technology and how it is transforming our lives. And I have this statement on the screen, and I'm not going to probably read through all of it, but I want to point out that when we talk about digital transformation, what we are really saying is how we are integrating digital technology into all areas of our lives. Technology is capable of changing how we live, how we work, how we interact with each other. It's far more than just adopting new technologies, but that's the obvious thing that everybody sees. As we adopt new technology, we are also experiencing a cultural shift. And these shifts in the culture requires organizations, public institutions, the society as a whole to continually look at what's going on, challenge what's going on, experiment, try new things. If they fail, try again, and just keep exploring until things work. I'll stop there and cite some examples to kind of give us a better understanding of this. Let's look at a few things that have been transformed by technology. Look at letters. In those days, if you wanted to get a message across to a family member, a friend somewhere outside of your immediate vicinity, you would have to send letters. You would have to go to the post office. So these were institutions many years ago in Nigeria. Everybody had some kind of relationship with the post office. The postman was very familiar on the street. But how has technology transformed us in the way that we send such messages today? Now we have email, we have messenger apps, we have WhatsApp, Telegram, Skype, Microsoft Teams, Slack. Information sharing is instant. I am having this discussion with you because of the capabilities of technology. Let's look at traveling and visits in those days. If you had to see your uncle or someone in a different city, you would have to just travel. Maybe if you have the privilege, you might be able to use a phone, but even telephones were very hard to come by in those days. But today, everybody has mobile phones. You can even have video chats on WhatsApp and all kinds of technology. Look at television and home entertainment. It used to be like the whole family had to sit in front of the television in those days. But today, what's going on? We have YouTube, Netflix, IPTV. I can even watch live TV on YouTube. For instance, like Channels TV, I can watch entirely over the internet on YouTube. Let's look at banking. It used to be that if you had to do banking, you had to go to a bank nearby. But today, most banking occurs online through electronic banking, through the apps on your phone, logging on to a website. There are even banks that are not really banks as you call them, as you may want to call a bank. There are banks that do not have any buildings. They exist completely online. look at currency. It used to be that the only way you could pay someone was to write a check or to give them paper money. But today there's even cryptocurrency. So these are some of the examples we can cite about how technology is transforming us. The key aspects of digital transformation, they include, technology integration, that is incorporating advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, big data, Internet of Things, blockchain, to streamline operations and improve efficiency. It also includes processing improvement, re-engineering business or public administration processes to take advantage of digital tools to make us more efficient and effective in our operations. It includes customer experience, that is enhancing customer interactions and experiences. Cultural change, as I mentioned, it fosters a culture that embraces innovation, agility, continuous learning. These are all essential for successfully implementing digital initiatives. Data utilization, AI, which is the probably the most popular technology today that everyone is talking on. I was just engaged in a conversation a few hours ago about AI. It's pretty much based on data, large set of data, leveraging data analytics to gain insights, to make informed decisions, and to assist us in making decisions as well. User empowerment, keeping employees, customers, and citizens with the tools and skills needed to thrive in the digital environment. So I could go on and on and on. The bottom line is this: technology is transforming us in ways that sometimes we take for granted. It's transforming us beyond what we think. Is creating a culture, a new way of doing things. It's shifting us from the old to the new. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a few technologies. I've mentioned a few, but I want to talk a little bit more. And at this point, I would probably say let's be more interactive here as well. I would like someone to give me a few examples of technological advances that allow us to connect from different, actually, let me put it this way. Give me an example of a technology that has made today's session possible. Anyone?
Yeah, the one we are currently using, I think that's a very good example of the technology.
Yeah, I couldn't hear that clearly.
She said the one we're currently using is a very good example.
Exactly, and that was the point that I wanted to drive home. Zoom is what we're using.
Okay, could you please? I'm not sure who that was. Was that from IMT?
Yes, that's from IMT.
Oh, very good. Skyline, you're on the Skyline. We're waiting to hear from you too. So don't be jonesing, don't be slacking. How do you say it now? That's what's the slang on the street these days. So get on board and don't let the Enugu babes take your shine, the Kano people. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So Zoom is connecting the world. It's changing the way we communicate. Zoom is not only doing that, it's also changing the way we work. A lot of people, myself included, I work entirely from home. I go to the office only once in a year. And we use Zoom, Slack, Teams, and all those other tools to communicate. It's a big change. It's a paradigm shift, to be able to just sit at home and do all of your work and communicate with all the people you need to communicate with. So the internet, of course, the Zoom depends on the internet to function as well. Wi-Fi, you can even move around the house. You can walk in your backyard. You can do all kinds of things. So digital media has fundamentally altered to us the landscape of mass media as well. Traditional media outlets such as newspapers, television, radio, they've had to adapt to the rise of online news portals, blogs, social media channels. The digital age is democratizing the production and consumption of information, enabling anyone with internet access to become a content creator or influencer. This shift has led to a more diverse media environment, such as online news, digital marketing, robotic journalism, instant news reporting, and there's just so much diversity than we had about 20 or 30 years ago. And as digital technologies continue to advance and integrate into every facet of life, it is also introducing new complexities. Now we have to deal with fake news, deep fake videos, hacking, social engineering, phishing, cyber theft. Those are the bad aspects of transformation, but overall, technology is improving our lives and giving us capabilities that a few people could have anticipated or imagined decades ago. Societies are being transformed in very profound ways. And in this presentation, we would not just talk about this transformation that is happening every day around us. We also look at how technology should be managed to ensure it works for our good. Effective governance in this new digital era is becoming an obvious requirement. I have a few things on the screen. We've talked about some of them: internet, mobile technology, social media, revolution in communication technology, deep learning, Internet of Things, AI, and all of these change how we work, how we interact. I'll give an example that is really very important to me. I can have meetings with my family in Nigeria anytime we want. When I arrived in the US about 28 years ago, I had to write letters. I had to use phones, which was really very expensive. Sometimes our income costs running into hundreds of dollars in a month. All of that is not the same situation anymore. I can pick my WhatsApp and talk to anyone, anywhere in the world. Things are getting better. And I want us to look at technology, not only from the challenges that we're going to be talking about, but also the opportunities that it's introducing to us. So the rise of digital media, you could see, I have a few things on the screen. Social media is number one. Digital media encompasses a broad range of content and platforms that use all kinds of technology to create for the creation, distribution, consumption of media products. And there are a few examples. Social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat enable people to create and share content almost instantly. And then we have streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus, Spotify to provide audio, video content on demand. We have digital publications, online versions of newspapers, magazines, and journals, such as the New York Times, The Guardian, Wired, Punch, This Day, and all the various media organizations where we consume our news. There are websites and blogs. Websites provide information about news, entertainment, blogs, name it. There is almost anything that we can do through websites. Podcasts, these are audio programs available for download or streaming, covering a wide range of topics from news, education to entertainment and storytelling. Ebooks, electronic books and digital libraries like Kindle, Google Books, online videos, mentioned YouTube, Vimeo, and all of that. Digital advertising. I don't know how many people know, but I do have friends in advertising in Nigeria. And the news that I'm hearing from them is that the business is really very difficult for them right now. They have operated on the traditional platform for years, but digital advertising has interrupted the business for them. They no longer can do business the way they used to. And I believe it's mostly because they failed to transform. They failed to do what they needed to do at the right time. And what's happening to them is similar to what happened to the typewriter. Remember, in those days, I remember when I was a student of mass communication in the University of Lagos. We had a typing room. Everybody had to learn how to type. We submitted our assignments through, by typing them out. But who's learning typing today? Anyone who was in the typing business and failed to upgrade is completely out of business today. I think that's what happened with digital advertising. There is virtual reality, augmented reality technology, online games. Games are very big today. Mobile apps, applications for smartphones and tablets, email messaging, we talked about. So the advent of digital media has revolutionized the landscape of mass communication. The rise of the internet, social media platforms, technologies, they have changed everything. The game has changed. They've changed the way we gather, we process, we disseminate, and consume news. And the traditional media industries are being reshaped. And we see this impact every day. Most people don't buy newspapers anymore. A lot of newspapers are struggling. These are the things that are going on with the rise of digital media. And so it kind of creates both opportunities and challenges. And when you have this on the screen, it says a problem is just a misunderstood opportunity. So it depends on how you look at it. Some people say that you can look at a glass half filled with water as half empty or half full. And that's pretty much the way that I want us to look at the challenges and opportunities that we face with technology. Let's look at opportunities. Digital media has made information more accessible than ever before. With websites, social media platforms, smartphones, and that. A lot of people have access. A lot of people can publish newspapers even from their rooms, and you can read the news as it unfolds. You don't have to wait till the next day to read the newspaper or wait until 9 p.m. in those days when we have to watch the NTA national news to know what's going on. Real-time communication and interaction, especially through the social media, through WhatsApp. I know almost anything that is going on in Nigeria, almost at the instant that is happening, because people post news throughout the day. There is diversification of media sources. An example is what I just said, WhatsApp. People can get the news from all kinds of ways, all kinds of sources these days. The traditional media is also being transformed. It's giving opportunities to a lot of people. Many years ago, you can only be employed by a big media organization. Today, you can start your own. You can do digital marketing on your own with your laptop anywhere. You can start your own newspaper online, and a lot of Nigerian journalists are already doing that. No longer do you have to be employed by a big media organization. So, it's an opportunity in that sense. But, we can go on and talk about various kinds of opportunities, but there are also challenges as well. This one, I believe all of us are probably familiar with: spread of misinformation and fake news. While digital media offers numerous benefits, it also creates significant challenges. The ease with which information can be shared online has facilitated the spread of misinformation and fake news. Social media algorithms often create echo chambers where users are exposed primarily to information their existing beliefs, potentially leading to increased polarization and fragmentation of public discourse. I see that happening in America. It's been going on in America for quite a while, where America is so divided to red states and blue states and Republicans and Democrats and and all kinds of results. This is not what the intention of technology should be. But as it makes as digital media make content more accessible, interactive, and diverse, it also requires new strategies to address some of these challenges. And this actually is the core of this presentation. What do we need to put in place to ensure that we are able to address many of these challenges and steer technology in the right direction for the benefit of our society, for the benefit of our people. So we'll then talk about governance. This is the main topic for today, the operating word for today. What is governance? We may not properly understand governance if we don't appreciate chaos, because the opposite of governance is lack of order, chaos, disorganization. To have governance means to be organized and to be prepared. At this point, I would like everyone to participate. Can someone give me an example of something in Nigeria that is chaotic, that is not organized, that is not governed? Any? Yeah, please come. Let's do this together. Tell me what do you think is not working well in Nigeria? What's not governed well? What is chaotic?
Hey, oh, all right, we've got someone standing up. I can see someone standing up from IMT. Is it going to the microphone? And I expect that the responses from Kano would also be the warming up.
You're on mute. I see someone, Hope Eze. If you are trying to talk, your Zoom is muted. You would want to unmute yourself.
Something that's chaotic. Okay.
Sorry, the question again.
Yeah, the question is, can you give me an example of something in Nigeria that is chaotic, that is disorganized? Something in this state.
I would say the judiciary system.
The judicial system is chaotic. Why? How? How much so?
Well, I'll take a classic example from the. I'll take a classic example from the 2023 elections and what was happening during the court proceedings and everything. It was an eyesore. It wasn't something to, the system wasn't something to be proud of. They promised us that we were going to get IVR or something for the online screening and everything for the voters. And when we got to the courts, the Labour Party got to the court and was like, oh, what happened to the systems and everything you guys promised? They were like, oh, and that it was not a must that they would use it. It was just a lot. The system is muddled up. It's crazy over there. So I think it's quite a chaotic system that needs immediate attention.
All right, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, the judicial system. You mentioned technology there. They were to apply technology to the elections. It failed, and then some people sought legal redress, and there wasn't a great deal of confidence. Thank you. Are there any? I want one more example. What's chaotic? What's not working well?
Hello.
Hello, Skyline University. Yes.
Good afternoon, sirs.
Yeah.
I think I can say the power supply in Nigeria is not working well.
Yeah.
It's chaotic.
It's chaotic, right? So, and there are reasons for that. Whenever anything is chaotic, there are reasons for that. And so I have something to share with you about chaos. Just take a look at the image on the screen. Does this look chaotic? I bet you would agree with me that this is chaotic. I don't know what's going on today, but in those days, this was the way a place in Lagos called Oshodi used to be like. You could be stuck for hours, vehicles stuck for hours, not moving. It doesn't look like there are any rules at all on this road. Vehicles are all over the place, and transportation can be very chaotic in Nigeria. Now, let's take a look at governance. this is a comparison. And you can see the difference between order and disorder, organization and disorganization. Take a look at this. This is also in Lagos. Is there any difference? Of course, there is a difference. You could see the order. You could see how the buses are lined up, how certain lanes are free. So there is something that you have to do to govern things properly, to make sure that they work the way they should work. I could cite all kinds of other examples in Nigeria. For instance, in Lagos, I don't know how many people know about the Omoniles. That is the land selling families. They can sell land to 3 different, 4 different, 5 different people, and they keep coming back to you to ask for you to repurchase the land. It is because the title really doesn't belong to anyone. We need to do better to ensure that once someone has the title, he cannot move to another person. He stays with one person at a time. Road transportation, every time I used to drive in Nigeria, I can't drive in Nigeria anymore because I can't just, especially in Lagos, it's just too much for me. It's chaotic. It's not governed properly. Even though the government is trying its best, the people are also part of the issue, but that's a completely different topic. So I think you can see now what governance means. And the goals of governance are to have a strategic focus, to define roles and responsibilities, to put the right people and the right structures in place, to ensure that you have standards, to ensure you have process, ways of getting things done, to manage risks, to ensure safety, to monitor, to analyze, and to improve how things are done. These are some of the reasons why you have to put governance in place. So why is governance so important? In technology especially, it is to create a balanced and inclusive framework that promotes innovation while safeguarding ethical standards, privacy, security, and public trust. By addressing the complexities and challenges of the digital age, effective governance ensures that technology serves as a force for good, driving progress, improving the well-being of all members of society. Governance starts broadly, as you would see in the illustration here in the image. It starts broadly in terms of creating an environment where there are regulations, and everybody understands what those regulations are. And then it cascades down from that top level regulatory environment in a country like Nigeria down to how each organization, whether it's in the public or the private sector, company, businesses, how they operate. There has to be public bodies that will create the regulatory environment, which are then supported by industry standards that corporate bodies comply to and are audited on. This is a system that allows risks and challenges as well as opportunities to be understood and managed properly. The governance provides the guardrails for expansion. It ensures that technology really works well for everyone. And you see this busy image on the screen. This is the COBIT framework. This is an example of governance. I certified in COBIT about 10 years ago. It means control objectives for information and related technologies. It is a good example of governance framework. It helps organizations meet business challenges in regulatory compliance, risk management, and aligning IT strategies with strategic goals. It specifies how to combine technology resources for the achievement of goals. It includes strategy. You could see on the screen at the very top level is strategy and governance. It includes financial management. What kind of financial resources do you have to allocate to support the development of technology? It involves people. Without technology, without people, technology is actually not possible. You can't run technology without people. We talk about this element later on. Architecture, how do you put it all together? Infrastructure, what tools do you need? Risk management, data, project planning. It has everything. And a lot of organizations, big organizations, organizations that are very rich, like Apple, like Microsoft, like, Oracle, they use these kinds of framework because they've become so big that it's easy for them to fail if they don't put things together. And I want you to understand that governance involves a lot of work. It involves extensive planning. It involves training. It involves a lot of details, as you can see here. So, this is a very good example of governance. What are the purposes of governance? I have them on the screen. I'll just quickly, talk through them. They help us to manage risks, ensure security. Nowhere is this more relevant than, say, in the banking industry. If you don't ensure security, then everybody is at risk. The same thing with social media organizations. We've had stories of Twitter being hacked, banks being hacked, different organizations have been hacked. There needs to be security, and it's through governance that you actually ensure security. If you take your mind back to the COVID image that I shared earlier, you would see that security was, let me quickly go back. You see that security and risk is addressed, and you can see risk management, security management, release management, incident and problem management. Those are the things that governance enable us to do. It helps us to facilitate inclusivity, diversity, bridging the digital divide, especially in a country like Nigeria. A lot of people are left behind or are being left behind. And through governance, we can ensure that that child in the village also has access to the same opportunities to learn computer engineering or digital marketing or online journalism. How do we ensure that everybody has access to opportunity? That can be done through governance. Otherwise, technology can actually create a divide, a wider divide in society. It enables us to support sustainable development, especially in these days where e-waste and things like that have become really very crucial. And the way we use things, reuse resources and reuse solid minerals and stuff like that. It helps to regulate market competition. You may have heard about all kinds of competition between Microsoft and Apple, Microsoft and Google. Without governance, these companies would completely overrun the society. They would just impose whatever works for them, whatever allows them to make money. But through governance, a lot of governments these days are ensuring that they create a healthy system where companies can compete in a good way. They help to guide the ethical development of AI. I mentioned earlier that I was just a few hours ago engaged in a discussion about AI. What happened was that there was this news that OpenAI, the foremost company working on artificial intelligence, they are working on a technology that will allow AI to conduct a research by itself. And someone responded to that news by saying that AI is bad for society. It's just a theft of data from newspapers and other organizations. And so there was this healthy discussion about, what AI, the unethical aspects of AI. And it is only through governance that can be addressed. Ensuring ethical use of technology, protecting privacy, data security, innovation, economic growth. Governance helps to enhance public trust and to facilitate international cooperation and standardization as well. Without standardization, everything would be so disorganized and chaotic. For instance, think about, say, the charger for your phone. How come we don't have the same type of charger for all phones? How come the charger that works with the power adapter that works with your your phone doesn't work on your friend's phone or your classmates, and we are all running around with different types of chargers. Now, through standardization, we can begin to have uniform way, and once I buy a charger, I can use it on any phone. So that is a result of governance. You would see now that there is a technology that's USB-C. A lot of phones, a lot of laptops now use USB-C. It is through governance that all these companies now have to conform with a particular standard to make life work better for us. These are some of the purposes of governance. Of course, it's not exhaustive. And let's take a look at how governance is done around the world. And I'm going to use the Western model, because they are, very advanced in technology. The US, European digital governance. I have 2 points here, and they are that it's always evolving. It's never static. And when they release governance, they do due diligence. They take their time, and they make sure it covers not only the present, it covers a lot of the future. And the other aspect of the way they approach governance is that they make it collaborative. They engage with technology leaders. They engage with technology companies. And, there are some examples in Europe, some of which most of us are familiar with, especially the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation. If you go to a lot of websites today, you are asked to consent to some kind of agreement. And that is a result of the GDPR. And the whole point is that no one is going to steal your data. No, you have rights. They ensure that there are certain rights that you have, and the Creator of websites or technology companies cannot take those rights from you. They have the Artificial Intelligence Act, Digital Services Act, Digital Market Act, European Data Strategy, Ethics Guidelines. In the US as well, there are a number, but the US is a little bit lagging behind. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, and you can see it on the screen. The Europe is moving far ahead. Not only do they have new rules, they are working actively to shape governance of technology, especially AI, through comprehensive regulation and ethical guidelines. These efforts will ensure that, as we enjoy technological advancements, they are also aligned with the values, like, for instance, European values. As they promote innovation, they also protect individual rights and societal well-being. So this is what's been going on, and there is always a continuous dialogue, especially in the US, that I'm very familiar with. The US government has realized that it needs to do more. The US Congress for the past 2 years has been engaging with leaders of major technology companies for ideas on how their companies can self-regulate and what kind of policies and laws will be necessary to protect public safety while avoiding stifling innovation. At one of such meetings attended by Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, former Microsoft CEO Bill Gates, Tesla's Elon Musk, and Google CEO Sundar Pichai, ideas were discussed about whether there should even be an independent agency to oversee certain aspects of the rapidly developing technology, especially AI. They've invited the head of OpenAI to tell them what the government should do. They are trying to stay ahead of the curve, but that's, the approach is to engage. The approach is to collaborate. The approach is to listen, to talk, and to ensure that whatever they put together really is relevant and would work. That's what I see in other countries. But let's come on. What's going on in Nigeria? Here's what the US has to say about Nigeria's seriousness. It says Nigeria aspires to become one of the top economies in the world, and the country recognizes ICT development and broadband access as critical requirements to achieve this vision. The ambition, however, remains far from being accomplished, as several others have combat broadband expansion investment opportunities for the sector. This is just one of, just a few of the challenges. And this is not even written by the Nigerian government, it's written by the US government. The US government studying Nigeria and see what Nigeria is doing. They say, hey, yeah, we want to do it, but we are not putting the things that need to be in place. We're not putting them together. So Nigeria, like every other country, grapples with rapid, advancement in technology. While Nigeria is following the path of other nations to create, Nigeria is doing some things. Let's actually take a look at about some of the bespoke regulatory initiatives in Nigeria. In Nigeria, just like the GDPR, Nigeria actually has NDPR, which is a copy of the GDPR, which was released in I think it was 2019. Don't quote me on this. I'm not very sure. But I know we have the Cybercrime Act, which helps to protect against cyber theft. Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, National Information Technology Development Agency. This is a new agency established in 2019 to kind of formulate, to kind of manage the development of technology in Nigeria. There's also the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategic Vision. This is a vision, a form of strategy to transform Nigeria into a leading digital economy by 2030. So Nigeria is doing some things. It's not like nothing is happening. Some things are happening. They are just not things that are currently very strong and solid on the ground. In the last decade, it has done on public administrators. It seems to have done on public administrators that existing laws were incapable of governing modern mass communications and technology. And then we began to see these new strategies, even new institutions like the NDEPS, NITDA, and all of that. Just like in Europe, Nigeria has begun to venture into areas of governance, but this has been late. But at the same time, it's a good start. It needs to gather momentum. I don't think I see any signs that this has been moving very well over the last 5 years. Most of the activities that have taken place in recent times have actually been before COVID. Since COVID, there has not been any major laws. There are a few things in the works, but they have not matured. So this is what I would say is the state of affairs of governance in technology in Nigeria. We are grappling with rapid advancements in technology. Those in authority, they don't seem to have adequate knowledge. We don't seem to have put enough people in public administrations to govern technology for us. We don't seem to be training enough people in technology management, both in the public and the private sectors. There are a few relevant laws. Some of the proposed ones lack focus. There seems to be knee-jerk reaction sometimes to technology. The government seems to be more interested in curtailing rights rather than promoting transformation, skill acquisition, and harnessing existing opportunities. I'll give you a few examples. The private sector doesn't seem to be investing enough, and they may not even have enough. They probably need public support. They need the support of the government. Banks struggle with cyber theft. Everybody is reporting that their money have moved from account to another account. I experienced it just last year in Nigeria, where I made a POS payment and the payment didn't go through, and it took me about 7 days to get my money back. It seems we need to do more. Let me give a few examples of what I see about what's going on in Nigeria. For a few years, the government has tried, but has failed to turn 2 suspicious bills into law. The Social Media Bill, Protection from Internet Falsehood and Manipulations Bill of 2019. It aims to curb the spread of false information on the internet with significant implications for social media use. Another legislative effort is the Hate Speech Bill. I know some, if not most of you already are familiar with these 2 bills. The Hate Speech Bill seeks to address the issue of hate speech and its impact on public order and national security. While not exclusively focused on social media, the bill includes provision that could significantly affect online expression. The government attempts to regulate social media through these legislative efforts, and they can have significant implications for free speech and digital rights. While the government argues that these measures are necessary to maintain public order and national security, critics contend that they could be used to undermine democratic principles and restrict fundamental freedoms. So that's probably why these two bills have not made it through. And then there is this initiative from the private sector, the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill has been proposed as a way of protecting digital rights, promoting online freedom, addressing issues of privacy, data protection, surveillance. And this first was proposed in 2017. And as I was preparing for this presentation, I read stories that even the National Human Rights Commission and the Paradigm Initiative, which has been promoting this bill for a long time, they've been calling on the federal government to promptly pass the Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, stressing that it's important, it safeguards individuals' rights and in the digital realm, but nothing is happening. So, you know, what are we going to do? This is not the right way to approach the matter. We need to have the private sector, the public sector talking to each other constantly. We need the government to understand that technology is, you know, not going to be managed the way that it used to be managed. I don't know how many people remember here what happened a few years ago, where Twitter shut down the account of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. And then Twitter was shut down for about 6 months throughout Nigeria because the president's account was shut down by Twitter. Was this the right approach? I'll leave it open. This is contentious. This is something, it depends on how you see it. But these are the things that we need to be thinking about. What is the level of involvement of Nigerian tech companies and the private sector in governance? Who is talking about AI and its impact on the future of work, privacy? These are the things that Nigeria must start talking about, thinking about, to put us on the right path to digital age. And you know, to put us on the right path, I want to introduce and recommend what is called a PPT framework, which I'm going to be talking about. This is a very critical area, critical approach to governance in technology. For Nigeria to really advance, we have to have a holistic approach, an approach that's not just looking at technology for its own sake, but looking at technology from a total view, 360-degree view of all the things that we need to put together. How do we ensure that we have the right framework for digital communication to be done right and to benefit the Nigerian people and society? We have to work really hard to equip our nation with the right people, with the right processes, and the right technology. These three elements must come together properly for us to create a digital culture which has the real transformative power to put us on the path to digital revolution. So people, these are the skills and capabilities that people bring to technology. Without, for instance, all of us here, without us being very knowledgeable about technology, what change, what will technology deliver? Without you being able to do digital marketing, without you being able to create powerful videos and powerful audios, without you being able to use the tools that you need to communicate, you know, without you being trained, how much road can we really travel? So people are very critical. Then the other element is process. These are ways of doing things, you know, guides for our action, guardrails, frameworks, and we talk about COVID and all of them, management systems, best practices, auditing systems. So we need to have processes in place. And then the technology itself, the tools that supports the tasks. When all these three elements come together, that is when we create a culture, a technological culture, organizational culture, social culture. What we are trying to create is a culture. In China today, technology is a culture for them. Almost everything. They are always looking for ways to apply technology to solve human problems. It has become a culture for them to ask themselves first, how can we use technology to solve this problem? I think we need to be doing a lot of that in Nigeria as well. How can we use technology to solve this problem? How do we combine people, process, and technology to make things working for us? Let's look at the people element. The digital age demands a workforce equipped with digital skills and competencies, as well as public administrators who understand how to make Nigeria compete in the digital age. There is a need to enhance digital literacy in both public and private sectors through training, development programs, changing the academic curricula, equipping employees, equipping students, equipping graduates with the necessary skills they would need to navigate and leverage digital tools effectively. Developing a workforce capable of managing and advancing digital technologies is really crucial. Digital literacy is a key factor, not only to create technology, but to govern it. It means our schools, public institutions, private sector, they must intentionally set themselves up to equip people with digital knowledge. Lecturers, civil servants, professionals, students, they must be ready. Everyone must be ready for the digital age. Technology is knowledge, and this is a knowledge revolution. Nations like India, China, the Philippines, they've been coming close to the Western nations because these countries have created an army of citizens who are highly skilled and knowledgeable in information technology. So it's this is one of the areas that, especially for us at this presentation, as mass communication students, we do really need to focus. Mass communication students can no longer continue to use the curricula of universities or programs or departments, the curricula of the 1980s and 1990s. Those are no longer applicable. Our lecturers, are they able to teach online journalism, for instance? Are they able to teach digital marketing? Do they understand Facebook and all the algorithms? Do they understand how to do advertising on Facebook or Twitter, all those platforms? Are they able to code? Is any of us able to code? Is any of us learning Python or any of those other programming languages that journalists in some other countries are actually using today to do what is called data journalism? The Columbia Institute of Journalism actually has a master's degree course in data journalism, and it's mostly around coding and using data to do robotic journalism and things like that. Are we teaching technical communication? Are we acquiring skills that employers seek in the modern age? So these are the things we need to think about when we talk about the people element of the people process technology approach. We do need to equip people. We do need to ensure that we do have the things, the basic elements in place. Public officials, especially those whose responsibilities have to do with technology, they have to be trained to understand the sector and all aspects of its management. We need visionary leaders, those who are interested in driving digital transformation. Political appointees have to be round pegs in round holes. We shouldn't be having anyone just brought in for political patronage to head any area that has to do with technology. There must be a clear national vision. There must be strategic planning. Just as in the United States, talks should begin between public officials and the private sector, especially tech companies such as Flutterwave, Paystack, Charms. Mechanisms for involving citizens in digital governance have to be in place. These are, some of the things that we really need to do. And in terms of process, I'm going to try to rush a little bit now to cover the rest of the content. I think I'm a little bit out of time. We need to have processes in place, to drive efficiency. We have to have best practice. We have to know what best practice is. We have to adopt a framework. I showed the COVID framework. What framework are we going to be using as a society? For service management, like ITIL, Professor Esson was talking about ITIL. I actually certified in ITIL a number of years ago. ITIL is Information Technology Information Library. It's pretty much how should you set up IT to make sure that it works for the people. That's all they teach us. It's not technical. It's more of management than technical. So we have to have people who can actually manage technology. There are courses in business technology. There are MBA programs in technology, MBA devoted to technology. Are our universities creating such programs? You know, everybody is doing MBA in order to go to the banks, to go to the oil industry. Is anyone doing MBA in order to manage technology? These are questions. At this point, I'm going to just be, you know, putting questions in our minds. You know, are we collaborating? You know, is the public reaching out to the private sector? Are we setting up compliance standards for tech companies, for the financial sector, and so on? But you know, it's not all bad news. There is some good news. There is some progress being made. I know there are e-government initiatives. You know, read about them. The companies are by themselves. They are adopting certain best practices. I was checking about IT training in Nigeria, especially IT framework, and I saw that, you know, a few years ago you couldn't see them, but today, even if you wanted to do IT in Nigeria, it's there. There are training schools that you could go to. We just don't have enough of them. We do need to, on a very large scale, spread out all this knowledge so that we can begin to think and talk about processes, so that we can begin to use them in organizations. You know, like for instance, SOC in America, a lot of companies, if you are listed on the stock exchange, you must pass SOC audit every year. What's SOC audit? It is pretty much some kind of security which allows, you know, the government to ensure that you are doing things properly. So every year the government sends auditors to audit, just like banks are audited. Technology companies are also audited every year to ensure that you are putting the right things in place, that you are securing your environment, that you have the right type of people in place to manage your IT systems, that you have the right tools in place. These are some of the things that we need to do. We need to put all these kind of processes in place because, as showing on the screen, to have transformation, to have the right output, there has to be input. What are we putting in for us to expect a certain kind of output? That's a big question. Then the technology itself, you know, digital infrastructure and cybersecurity. This is big. I know recently there was this commotion around a new levy by the banks in Nigeria. There was a plan. I don't know if that plan has been withdrawn now, but a few weeks ago, there was this talk around a new levy by the bank. When you do money transfer, there is going to be a deduction on your account for cyber crime. The government was going to be charging people to ensure that, you know, the technology is protected. And, you know, whether it's good or bad, I don't know, but I know for sure that there are such charges in the US by different companies. The government charges all kinds of things to ensure that technological systems are safe. So we do need to put tools in place as well. We need to put technology in place. We need to develop our technology in Nigeria, especially. We can't just be dependent on foreign technology. But do we have the infrastructure to do that? You know, how can we move forward if we don't have the infrastructure? And when we talk about technology, one of the things that we don't talk well enough is public infrastructure. Someone mentioned one of the things that is chaotic in Nigeria at Skyline University. He said, electricity. We cannot have technology without electricity. So we have to look at the basic building blocks, the basic things that we need to put in place in terms of public infrastructure before we even begin to talk about, you know, software engineering and so many other things that need to be in place. But, you know, we do need the technology, you know, and we do need people, and we do need governance. We need processes around them. And then we have an advantage. Things that used to take 20 years, these days we can do in 20 days. We can use AI. AI can be looked into by Nigeria to using technology to solve technological problems, so to say. We can roll AI into governance to help us to build data that will give us insight, that will give us the decision-making ability, the business intelligence, to know how to put all of these things together. But of course, there are risks with AI, and we also have to be aware of those risks. But we do need to, Nigeria needs to begin to set the rules for AI right now, even though AI may not be something that we pay a lot of attention to yet, but it's happening. You know, WhatsApp is using AI right now. Google is using AI. All the technologies that we use, they use AI. Samsung is introducing AI in their new phones. But if these things are going to be used by Nigerians, what kind of governance do we have in place? How are we controlling this? How are we managing this? So I'll begin to conclude. If technology is not well governed, the benefits that we should expect will be limited. I would say Nigeria is not the only country that is grappling with technological challenges, but Nigeria needs to do more. We need to move faster. The digital transformation of modern societies is bringing such profound changes in communication, information dissemination, public engagement that these benefits can be easily lost if we make it chaotic. There needs to be an introduction of order in the technological space. Even online journalism in Nigeria, I know there were recently a journalist was arrested because he published something that the security agency said was wrong. But is there any governance for the operation of online journalism in Nigeria? If there is, I don't know of such guidance or standards. The Nigerian Guild of Editors, do we have things in place to ensure that journalists operate within a particular ethnic boundary when they set up online media, online websites? What kind of rules are there? Or, you know, we can't just have a jungle in the adoption of technology. We need to create some kind of order. So we must focus on people, process, technology. We must ensure there is widespread digital literacy. There is training all over the place, training from colleges, training from private institutions, training in public institutions, training in businesses. We need to also ensure that it's inclusive. We do not want to create a digital divide. We want to make sure that every citizen is empowered to have access to technology, to use it, and to make things better themselves through it. We need to have protection, data protection. You know, there is no better way to express this than through banking. Everybody understands that. Most of us have experienced transfers that didn't go well, or money deducted from our account, and or information leaking on the internet that we did not intend to leak. Our WhatsApp accounts being hijacked, which is very common these days, because data is not protected. Phishing, social engineering, and hacking, and so many of those things, they can be curtailed through governance. We have to have institutions that will maintain standards for us. We need to have all kinds of public institutions in place. And we need to have innovation, and not just innovation, a way of communicating those innovations to the right audiences. And we do need to make significant investments in digital infrastructure, data centers, AI. We need to have our own technology. We need to have Nigerian companies creating phones and laptops like they do in South Korea, like they do in China. I think we've reached that stage when we should actually be producing a lot of things by ourselves, but there needs to be investment, both in people, in process, and in technology. And governments at all levels, state governments, local governments, federal government, everybody looks at the federal government, but the solution is not only at the federal level. They need to work closely with the private sector to ensure that we are really building for the future. And as you can see, there is interconnectivity between people, process, and technological tools. If there is anything you can take away from today's presentation, I would love it to be your dialogue with yourself about your own role as a communication scholar, student, or professional, about ensuring that we communicate innovation to the right people with the right language, the right intentions, and that the society as a whole is getting the right results. We can't be afraid of technology. We have to embrace it. And media professionals in particular have a social responsibility to gather, to analyze, to interpret, and disseminate information about development, about technology. A lot of you may have taken, or we eventually take courses in communication for development. This fits right into that subject. What will you do to understand and communicate information about modern agricultural technology, for instance, to farmers? If you are like an agricultural reporter or science reporter, what will you do if you are a health reporter to communicate advancements in medical technology to medical scientists, to doctors, to nurses? What will you do to communicate construction technology to engineers? Every day in Nigeria, we hear stories about collapse of buildings. Are there technologies that could help? I don't know if many of us are aware, but there is now 3D printing. Houses are being printed, and there are videos on YouTube. If you want to check, just go check it out. Houses are now being printed. How do we get that to those who need such knowledge? We are the communicators. How do we get information about safety to technicians, or information about learning to educators? It is our job. This is our social responsibility. We need to go out and equip ourselves, starting with ourselves, with the knowledge we need to be journalists that can really affect, or media professionals that can really affect the society. What role will you play, for instance, to guide the society to follow the best practice? Let's think deeply about the role of the media in the communication and adoption of innovation to move this generation forward. Thank you. And at this point, I am going to be inviting questions, and we can then wrap up.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And I think even if we can't hear you, we can give a round of applause to our speakers. Skyline and IMT, thank you. Can we join me in giving a round of applause to our speaker? Thank you so, so much. Well done. Thank you. Okay, so there's been quite a lot to take in there, and I'm really grateful for your summary right at the end, which you guys can see why I asked you to please take notes so that you have questions and comments to ask. There's a lot that's been said. First, we've looked at the big concern for today is how technology should be managed to make sure that it works for our good. We started by looking at how digital transformation is the way in which we integrate technology into all areas of our lives. And we started with those ways that we had known, which some of us, I'm sure some of us in the audience are not familiar with, the postman coming around the houses to drop letters. I think that's something that maybe had gone before this crop of students had come out of their knickers. But hey, it just shows you how very dynamic, as it were, the technology has been, that things that we felt were recent past are quite alien to those of the people that we are relating with. Our young people, the Gen Z, may not be familiar with some of the information that we're talking about. So the postman and the traveling by, the night bus. Some of us are still traveling by night bus, but then they may not know the Bole Kaja. They may not be familiar with the Oshodi images. Well, hey, I'm sure they can find their own equivalent. So let's now go on. Yeah, so we started with that. We're thinking about technology as being able to help improve the quality of life. I've put it down as making life more efficient and more convenient, how that can be done. And I like the conclusion that you've helped us with, that is giving us a sense of what should be, why is this relevant to us as mass comm students? Why should we be concerned with this? And I think what you've said is, hey, we have a role to play. First, in understanding what's going on, and also in promoting this to the right audiences, in addressing it to the right audiences. We need ourselves to be experienced and informed users, as well as getting more people on board and helping the society. In other words, the society that we're serving has changed. Therefore, our paradigm for working within society needs to change as well. Hey, this is where we are. And I want to pause with my own thoughts. I don't want to hog the limelight. And let's take questions from our participants. I don't know how you're going to do this, our institutions. If we have someone who has collated questions for the university, whether it's Skyline University, and we also have IMT, if we have somebody who has collated questions, or we have a list of people, then we're happy to take those questions. Mr. Odediro, I hope you're happy to take the questions, maybe make notes of the questions, and then address them together.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Right. So who do we start with? Do we go in alphabetical order? IJKLMNOPQRS. Do we go with IMT first, or we go with Kano and Enugu? Either way, it looks like IMT, you get to start if we go alphabetical. Enugu before Kano, or we come from the rear. Who's ready? Skyline, do you want to go first? You were earlier you reported earlier. Should we take your questions first, Skyline University? Oh, very good. We're ready.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
My name is Nusayba Ibrahim. I'm the content writer for Skyline University, so I'll be moderating the question and answer session from this end.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, our students have written so many questions, and I'm glad we've been able to understand some of the various aspects that you've discussed. Can I start with Aisha? Your question, please. No, she should move closer so that they can hear her.
It would be nice if we could see her as well. Aisha.
Yeah, guys.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Aisha Kabir. And my question here is, you advocated for widespread digital literacy in your conclusion. Who do you think is responsible for that?
Okay. Do you want, should we go on to the, so we get a sense of the answer. We'll take the next question.
All right.
I have a question.
Chuku, Egbo, could you just hold on?
I have a question, ma.
I will come to you after.
In the lecture, you said one of the the purpose of governance in technology include ensuring ethical use of technology, ma. Now, my question is that since the advent of technology and its manipulation by some people in spreading propagandas and fake news, to what extent has the government gone in ensuring that technology is used in the way and manner in which people are made to use it, ma?
Okay, Chukudon, so thank you for your question. Did you get that, Mr. Odediro?
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
All right, taking the second question from Skyline University.
Thank you, Skyline. Go ahead, Skyline.
Good afternoon. My name is Isawali. You say that there is a lot of countries that develop in terms of technology advance. So in which way that Nigeria can adopt strategies in order to develop their own technological aspect?
Can you please take that again? I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
That now there is a lot of countries that develop in terms of technology advance. So in which way that the government of Nigeria can adopt a strategies that can help them to improve in technology advance.
Okay, so
thank you.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
With a question, comment, or anything? All right.
Okay, whilst you're waiting for that, have we got somebody else?
Yes.
We can't quite see you. If you want to move a little.
Digital data, but enforcing laws seem to be difficult. Are there domestically mechanisms designed for enforcing such laws and sanctioning the data breaches by tech giants, hackers, and other online players?
Have you gotten the question?
That was that sounded like AI. Yeah, I want to make sure that I get all questions so that we answer them properly. I did not think I followed all that you said there. Can you take it again?
Okay. In Nigeria, there are laws meant to protect digital data, but enforcing laws seem to be difficult. Are there domestically mechanisms designed for enforcing such laws and sanctioning the data breaches by tech giants, hackers, and other online players?
I think you need to take that again and slowly. Are there, what did you say? Just the last bit of the question.
All right, let me try again the question again. She says in Nigeria, there are laws meant to protect digital data, but enforcing the laws seem to be very difficult. Okay, the question is, are there domestically made mechanisms designed for enforcing such laws and sanctioning the data breaches by tech giants, hackers, and other online players?
So are there domestic initiatives?
Domestic mechanisms that are designed to enforce such laws.
Okay, mechanisms designed to enforce laws against
laws and sanction data breaches by tech giants, hackers.
Okay, so what you're saying is that let me just make sure I get that right. You're talking about the gathering of data by the tech giants, and that there are laws that should be protecting us. How do we really have the mechanisms in place in Nigeria to ensure that data is protected and people's privacy is protected? Is that a correct expression of the question? Did I get it right?
I think you did. I think what she's saying is that there are laws in place, but then are there domestic laws or mechanisms to ensure that
to ensure that we
enforced?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Got that. Thank you.
Do we have more questions? Oh, they've muted from Skyline. So let's take these questions first, this round of questions, and then we can come back.
All right, great. So I'll start from the first one from Aisha. And you talked about widespread, digital literacy. You said, who is responsible for ensuring that we are all literate? You see, I tend to take a particular approach to national development that is not specifically focused on a particular institution. There is always a need to have a holistic approach. We cannot be looking at these issues in isolation. It's very easy for me to say that it's the government. But I would say that the role of the government is to ensure there are institutions in place, that there is public administration in place, that the environment to nurture technology and digital literacy is in place. But the private sector also needs to step up. And institutions like universities should also be involved. You know, the people in government, they may try to monitor the curricula or even dictate the curricula of the universities, but do they know better than the lecturers and the professionals in our institutions? The universities need to know what's going on and need to begin to train people, you know, and then, you know, the business, newspaper houses, television stations, we're all involved. Let me give you an example of what's going on in the US. We talk about COVID, we talk about ITIL, we talk about all these governance frameworks that a lot of big organizations use. They were not created by the government. These were created by professional bodies, professional organizations such as ASCPN, ACSPN. You know, ACSPN can begin to work on a framework, for instance, for media communication governance. You know, this is how things evolve in a lot of countries. Microsoft has its own framework for managing Microsoft systems, which is called Microsoft Operational Framework, MOC. And they've rolled it out on a wide scale. And some of these companies are bigger than their countries. Apple, if it was possible for companies to buy countries, Apple can buy Nigeria. But the amount of money they have, you know, these companies have become Amazon. They become so big and they have so much resources, and they're investing their resources to they're not waiting on the government, but I would say that the largest responsibility rests with our government.
Okay.
You know.
Sorry, hold on. Chuku,
it's actually a, how do I put it?
Sorry,
Chukudo.
Chukunomso.
Chukuno, right? Yeah.
Chukunomso. Can we just have the answers first? We'll get you in after this round of answers. Okay?
Yeah, and Chukuno is the next is the question. I hope I answered your question, Aisha. You know, and the largest responsibility is with the government, but everybody has a role to play. Chukuno, you talk about ethical use of technology. You said to what extent?
I have a question.
Can you guys please just hold on? Let's finish this round. I will call you in. IMT, that's Chukunomso. Can you just please hold on? So we go through this round of questions with the responses and we will call you in. That's why I've muted you for now. Thank you. Please bear with us. Thank you.
Yeah, Chukuno's question was around ethical use of technology, alluding to fake news, deepfake videos, conspiracy theories that's spreading widely on the in social media, on the internet. And you asked to what extent are we really trying to curtail this? I suppose in Nigeria. This is a big problem. It's a big problem for every nation. You may have read stories about, you know, people even trying to use unethical ways to drive a certain political outcome. For instance, in the upcoming general presidential elections in the United States, there have been videos of Biden, of Trump, showing them in incorrect ways. And, you know, these days with deepfakes, you can actually have someone, you can create a fake video of someone speaking, saying things that they never actually said. You can create videos, I can create videos of, say, Professor Esson saying all kinds of things that she never uttered. And because you can see her lips moving, you can see her face, you believe it. So this is a big problem. This is a huge issue. And the law is not yet in any country been able to catch up because it's quickly evolving. But there are definitely discussions and talks about what to do in a lot of places. I think GDPR has been able to limit that to a large extent in Europe, and there is an element of GDPR in the US as well. In Nigeria, even we have the Nigerian Data Protection NDPR, I don't know who is monitoring it. I don't know who is enforcing it. I don't see Nigerian website actually showing when you log into, say, online newspapers, showing the rules that according to, you know, I don't see them putting NDPR anywhere. I don't know how many of us are even aware of that law, not to talk about applying it when we do things. I think there is a lot more that needs to be done, not only in terms of setting standards, not only in terms of having governance in place, but also there has to be organizations that will monitor, that would evaluate, that would update all those whatever regulations that we have in place. As I mentioned in the course of the presentation, I haven't really seen any new law or regulation related to technology in Nigeria since COVID, since 2020. The last tracks that I saw were, you know, around 2015 to 2019. There are bills in the National Assembly, but they are not even making it through. And there are comments that those bills were meant to serve the political interest of our leaders, not really to serve the people. So I think there is a lot that needs to be done there. I don't think we're doing enough. I'll go next to the question by Isa Wali. You said countries have developed their technology, and I advocated that Nigeria should also do that. You said, in what ways can government, the government in Nigeria help to advance technology, to ensure that there is technological advancement? In what ways can the Nigerian government help? I think it is the responsibility of our government to create the right environment, and they do that by creating public institutions and ensuring that those institutions do have the right people in place. I mentioned that we cannot have square pegs in round holes. We have to make sure that the right people, the people with the right technological skills, those who are well-trained, they are in place to manage institutions that have to do with technology. First, we don't have enough institutions. We need to have enough public institutions. We don't have enough regulations. We need to have all kinds of regulations. But I will link this back to the answer to Aisha's question, which is there is a big role for the private sector as well. A lot of the technology that we see today in the United States, even though it started, the internet started with the ministry, the American Ministry of Defense started the internet. But as soon as the private sector embraced it, everything changed. AOL, not many people remember AOL. It used to be the big internet company, Netscape, in those days. And they took it. Then Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, they took over. They are not waiting on the government. In fact, the government is consulting with them. The government is picking their brains. This is where, at the end of the day, I mentioned this, there has to be collaboration. The private sector needs to be moving. I think the private sector in Nigeria is moving, Flutterwave, Paystack, some of these companies have become international companies. I think it was Paystack that was purchased by, what's the name of the company, for $200 million a few years ago. So the Nigerian private sector is actually making its mark, but are they working with the government? I think at the end of the day, the government needs to step up. Our government needs to step up. And the government is not going to step up except the professional bodies, the universities, the media begin to speak up. This goes back to our social responsibility as journalists. It is our responsibility to make sure that the government is doing what it's supposed to do. If we begin to write reports, if we begin to conduct investigative journalism, if we begin to do analysis of what's going on elsewhere, and we begin to write the stories in the media, begin to report them in the television and radio and we can drive public opinion. We need to put all of this in the public space. So I do think there is a big role for the mass media in this. We have to communicate for development. Then I'll go to the last question. I did not get the name of the person who asked. But you were talking about, enforcement companies, big companies gathering all kinds of data, especially of Nigerians, and that it's so difficult to know what's going on with what's happening with your data. He said, are there domestic mechanisms designed to enforce whatever relevant laws are there? Let's start with the NDPR, which is Nigeria's law that protects user data. I have the question: has any one of us read the NDPR? Before today, were we even aware there was anything like that? How much of it has been reported by the mass media, by our colleagues, by journalists? How are we ensuring that the society is informed about those laws? Let's not always wait on the government. Journalists cannot wait on the government. That is our role, to put the government on its toes. What are we doing? How much reporting are we doing around this? To answer your question, I don't think there are so many mechanisms at all. I don't believe that we even take it that serious. I don't believe that we have set up the right people. Remember the people element of people, process, technology. I don't believe we've set up the people who would set up the standards or manage the standards, the process. And I don't also believe that we have the technology in place to help us to monitor it. Maybe there are other professionals who may know more about this than me, but from what I've seen from far off, I don't think we have sufficient mechanisms. Again, we have to have the people with the right knowledge. We have to have the process to have standards and to govern those processes. And then we have to have the technology. I don't think we've put a lot of investment in place for all those three elements to start working for us. And I think I've covered all the questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think you have. And if I may just add that the fact that when we talk about the people, and it's not just the experts, and when we talk about institutions, starting with the response to Aisha, the digital literacy, I believe that what we need to a large extent is not just the experts in the universities, because you will find that the paradigm for communication these days has become democratized. So we need, if it's going to work, it can't be top down as used to be the case. Therefore, the governance has to be inclusive of all those users who are now also able to communicate. They're not just audiences who receive, they're also people who are content creating and sharing and all of that. So it's important that we're able to percolate this. And when we talk about institutions, it's not just mass communication. It's something that maybe should start from primary school, secondary school. And that's why our guest speaker, Ms. Odediro, is saying, hey, we have a role, because our role as mass media is to understand what needs to be done and communicate this to the various audiences that need to know. That's not just government at federal government level, it's government at state government level. Hey, recently we've talked about the local government, the devolution of financing to the local government. So there's place for local governments to get involved in equipping and funding the schools to ensure that more and more people appreciate these digital technologies, the digital changes, the changes that are happening in society, so that when these infrastructure will be in place, we have the people who are able to make use of it. There's no point providing facilities that people are not able to adopt because they don't recognize or they can't use it. So I think this is really pretty important. I'm mindful of the time, but then we must ask Egbo. I hope that kind of shows up some of the responses that we got. I need to open up for Egbo Chukunonso to ask that question. I'm not sure how many more questions. Do you have more questions from Skyline? But we must go to IMT just now. If we do, please indicate maybe in the chat box so I know and I can plan the time. Just maybe send in the chat box and we can see that. Chukunam, so please unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Okay, so my question goes like this. ICT contributes about 18% to Nigeria's GDP, mostly derived from telecom companies. But looking at its overall investments, Nigeria still lags behind in taking advantage of AI. What would you advise the government to do to reverse this trend? Given that Nigeria remains the largest consumer of technology in Africa, well, that's what we think, but what's your advice?
Okay.
Do I just take that right away, Professor Eson?
Please go ahead and take it. I
Right,
don't know
yes.
if there are any more questions.
Yeah, I love data, and thank you very much for providing data. 18% to GDP, and it's mostly to telecom. Yet Nigeria lags behind. What can we do? This is where technology plays a very critical role. And I'll start from a very basic viewpoint. How about electricity? How about not having to worry that you're not going to be able to use your laptop? How about we don't have any power outages in Nigeria and we have very stable and steady electricity? How about us then moving on to the next level of things to make sure that we have fast internet across Nigeria? I used to travel to India until COVID. India is a country that is, in terms of development, on the street at least, it looks a lot like Nigeria. And one thing that India has that Nigeria doesn't have is that almost anywhere you go in India, they have fast internet, which is not based on wireless technology. Until 5G, wireless technology is always not going to be very reliable. I find it very difficult to work when I'm in Nigeria. And because the internet is not fast enough. If you are in the technological space, you actually need a speed that is much faster than everybody else. If you are developing a website, you're uploading, or you're doing software engineering, you're developing, you're uploading, you're downloading very large sets of data. And you can do that when you are just using your, some flaky internet connection. So we have to have the basic infrastructure, data centers. We need to have a lot of this. I help a lot of friends to get internet hosting from the US because we don't have enough number of good hosting companies in Nigeria. Why can't we host? I can tell you that 80 to 90% of Nigerian websites are hosted outside of Nigeria. Why is it? Even those who say they are hosting companies in Nigeria, they are just resellers. They don't have the infrastructure to deliver web content. It's not fast enough. And they don't have the people who can manage the technology as well. So we do need to begin to think about the infrastructure, from electricity to the internet. Why almost on every university campus in the United States, actually not almost, every university campus has free internet for every student and guest. If I walk into any university in the US, I know I'm going to get free internet and I don't have to go anywhere. All I have to do is to be on the campus and I would see guest Wi-Fi and I'm connecting and I'm using the internet. I can, even if I don't have my own internet, there are places that I can go. I can go to a public library and use the internet free. These things are not too difficult to achieve. The government needs, and the private sector as well. I know Google was trying to create like some kind of, or Facebook, create some kind of free internet. There is this new technology called Starlink by Elon Musk that is being used in Ukraine and some other countries right now, and being used in rural America as well to deliver fast internet using satellite technology. These are infrastructure. I think the most important thing that can be done is to build the infrastructure that would enable innovation, enable technological development. Then we will always go back and talk about the process and the people as well. But I think the infrastructure is the most important thing.
Thank you very much. We're so grateful for this, and our time is sadly running out. It would be nice though to get a couple of comments, not just questions, but comments about what is it that we've gained from this event. If I'm not quite sure whether we're able to do that. Those of us online can type it in. Just if you can just type in what is your key takeaway, the key lesson to take away from this experience, from this exposure, the discussions that we've had today. It would be great to have that. But let me not be too autocratic. I just want to be sure that IMT, are we happy where we are? Did we exhaust the questions that are comments that we want to share? What is your key lesson from the program? Yes, I want you to answer that question. Don't pose it as a question. Please just answer the question, yeah? Can you just post that? And Skyline, are we happy? It's just a wave of the hand to say if we're happy or if we, oh, fantastic, thank you. Right, could you just please post for us the comments that you have? What's the key lessons that we've taken away from here? That would be a good way of helping us understand what we have accomplished today. Thank you. Okay. I'm yet to see the comments coming in. Is there anyone who wants to speak to the mic whilst the comment is coming in? I've seen the coordinator from Skyline University. Do you want to unmute and say to us? Okay. Well,
electricity is giving us headache. The internet is Go ahead.
Please go ahead and give us your summary.
All right. I think the major takeaway for the students is sorry.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I think the major takeaway for the students is at the moment they will be having a focus. By focus, I mean they would be choosing where they need to talk about more issues that are connected to technology in terms of freelancing or content creation, using the internet wisely, using technology wisely, because with this information that they've gotten, they know how to educate people more about how to be innovative and how technology disrupts their activities by the day. Because as you said in your discussion, we cannot run away from technology, we only have to embrace it. So in order to show people that they need to embrace technology, we can be able to carefully factor in all these conversations into their daily activities as content creators, as potential journalists, as potential scholars, and as freelance writers as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're grateful.
Please.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Samin Umar, the head of department Mass Communication, Skyline University. I just want to say very big thank you to the organizers of this important event, especially the ACSPN, which is an organization that I am proud of because I am an important member since its inception. So thank you very much for giving Skyline University this opportunity to participate. We are very grateful, and I want you please to take responsibility of informing the management of ACSPN that we are very grateful. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. HOD, thank you so much for the appreciation of the initiative by the Association of Communication Scholars and Professionals in Nigeria, ACSPN. We are really delighted that we could impact upon your institution in this way. Thank you. And I have a word from IMT. Because there are not so many comments going on, I would give you a chance to read your comment, the key lesson that you've taken as well. So who's speaking up for you? I have it here, I could read it, but I want to give you parity. IMT Enugu. Can you unmute? Go ahead, sir.
Please unmute yourself.
Hope Eze, please unmute yourself. Can you please unmute?
Okay, so can you hear me now, Ma?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take that again. I said that digital governance is critical to the growth of Nigeria, but first, Nigeria must solve the issue of electricity and also Wi-Fi. You know, this internet connection is a big problem in Nigeria. We have to be honest, and electricity as well. You know, we are using generator to panel to kind of like fuel this whole thing that is going on now. If we had trusted on electricity, that would have been a flop. So yeah, I'm grateful for this lecture, and thank you so much, Mr. Chris, today. It's an honor, and also to you, Olayinka, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think I'm not sure if it's Hope Eze, but you're on Hope's, what you call it. So thank you so much for your comments. And somebody else sent a message at the last moment, which I will read. I don't think we have the time to get you to speak to us, but the comment was from Blessing Chidima. This workshop is an eye-opener because it has added to my knowledge on digital technology when it talks about the increase in, I'm trying to get that, increase in accessibility and democratization of information and the spontaneous delivery of information through digital technology is indubitable. I'm not quite sure I get that, but I think we get the sense of what you're saying. Thank you so much for these comments. Thank you for your engagement. But more importantly, let's go off and take up our challenge, the challenge that we've been given as communicators to identify what our role is, to keep abreast of development in technology. My colleagues and our students, let's think about the ways in which maybe the digital governance, what can we propose? I hear us asking questions about what should be done, whereas really we need to be proposing what can be done. What do we think will work? We are the ones who will need to go on now and think about it, evolve, let some of the solutions evolve from us. What should we do? And I think one big issue that was raised that we need to highlight is the fact that on the one hand, there's a big dilemma. On the one hand, we want to ensure freedom of expression. We want to ensure creativity, that we do not stifle people. But on the other hand, there's got to be governance. This is an age-old problem. How do we ensure that there's governance, that there's clear regulation, that we have order without necessarily stifling people, which seems to be the way that government is thinking, where it seems as if government is more concerned with stifling people, with ensuring that people do not go overboard. And how do you do that without curtailing people's freedom? See what's going on in your spaces, whether your spaces on X, on WhatsApp, on in Facebook or YouTube. What are those liberties that people have when they comment? These things start from us. When we comment, and we comment either ignorantly or we comment without consideration to the others. So even before we start looking for the laws, there are things that we can do ourselves. So let's go out and be responsible citizens and show the track that the nation needs to go on. I want to thank you very much. Thank you very much, our guest speaker, for being here. Without you, this event would not have worked out. So that brings us to a close for today, our second edition of the Ask Me series by the ACSPN. And I'm Oluyinka Eson, Professor Oluyinka Eson from Caleb University, the Deputy President for Association for Scholars and Professionals, or Communication Scholars and Professionals of Nigeria. God bless you all, and we will need to go. I think one last chat came in, but we'll note that for the records. We need to go now. God bless you all. Thank you for coming, and all the best. I must acknowledge Professor Nsunde. Welcome, Madam. She's the Vice President for the Southeast. Well done. Thank you very much for coming, Professor Nsunde. Okay, bye everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Okay.